before we start, Cable 8 is televising this meeting and we broadcast. And if anybody is streaming, they can stream. And anyone recording it, Town Council recommended that we make that announcement in case people don't want to be recorded or they do not want to have their faces on TV. So I'll leave it at that. Unfortunately, the first order of business I have is some sad news. Robert L. Bob DSO, age 98 of Canton, a loving and faith-filled man known for his service to his family, his community, and country, passed away peacefully on October 6, 2023. Born in Somerville, Mass., Bob lived a life that was a testament to his unwavering faith, dedication to service, and love for education. Bob was the cherished husband of Carol K. Scotton, DSO for 18 years, and the late Elizabeth Chamberlain, DSO for 50 years. A proud graduate of Everett High School and Boston College, Bob was a lifelong learner who valued education. Bob served his country with honor and pride as a veteran of the United States Army during World War II, earning a rank of sergeant. Among the military medals and awards Bob received for his service, he was most proud of the Combat Infantry Badge, the Bronze Star, and the French Legion of Honor Medal. Beyond his professional endeavors, Bob was extremely involved in the community as a member of the American Legion Post 24 and the Canton Veterans Service Department Honor Guard. He continued to serve his fellow veterans and community long after his active duty service. Bob also volunteered for Meals on Wheels, demonstrating his selflessness spirit and commitment to helping those in need. Through his life, Bob DSO embodied the virtues of love, faith, and honor. His legacy of service, devotion to his family, and commitment to his faith and continue to inspire all who were fortunate enough to know him. His memory will be cherished by his loved ones, and his influence will continue to impact his community for years to come. Robert L. Bob DSO will be deeply missed, but never forgotten. I would ask we have a moment in honor and memory of Mr. DSO. Anyone who knew Bob knew he was one of the many faces, proud faces of the American Legion, and a man with great, was very humble and a great gentleman. So I would ask that may he rest in peace and have a moment of silence in his memory and honor, please. Part of the greatest generation. Thank you. Thank you, board members. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Loughran, first order of business, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, we have a statement on behalf of the Select Board that I'd like to read. The ongoing court case and the death of John O'Keefe have divided our community. And while we continue to be advised by our legal counsel not to address the criminal case, as the elected leaders of the town of Canton, we need to speak to you, our residents. The vitriol and anger that this issue has raised is hurting our community, and it is casting a shadow over any semblance of community spirit. Neighbor accuses neighbor. Our public meetings have been attended by news crews and protesters. We need to come together as a community and allow the court process to see through to the end. The Canton Select Board has nothing to do with the ongoing criminal case. Our silence on this matter thus far is no indication of our feelings or opinions. It is merely a reflection of what we have been advised by counsel and by our district attorney. We cannot comment on any aspect of an ongoing criminal case. It would be inappropriate and it may subject the town of Canton to legal liability. We have heard the individual concerns of our residents. We agree, and we have conveyed to our police chief that a thorough and holistic administrative review of the policies and procedures of the Canton Police Department is appropriate. And at our direction, the town administrator has begun the process of researching national firms that have the capacity to conduct this work. We have recently received the results of an evidence room audit of the police department, and the Mass Police Accreditation Commission will conduct a detailed third-party assessment of the department beginning in March of 2024. We have directed Chief Rafferty to publicly release those reports without delay. The purpose of these meetings is to conduct the required and necessary business of the town of Canton. As is the case with every meeting, we have a full agenda. We appreciate the passions, opinions, and thoughtful questions and concerns of our residents, and now it's on to business.
Thank you, Mr. Loughran. Just a reminder, I forgot to mention that Mr. Theodore unfortunately is ill at home, so he obviously is not here at the meeting. Mr. Loughran.
First on the agenda, we have a public hearing regarding the application for alteration of premises for WKB Incorporated, doing business as Elsie's Table, 497 Washington Street, Canton, Mass. 02021. And I will just read into the record. Town of Canton Legal Notice Public Hearing. Notice is hereby given under Chapter 138 of the Mass General Laws as amended that the Canton Select Board, acting as the licensing board for the town of Canton, will hold a public hearing regarding the application for alteration of premises for WKB Incorporated, doing business as Elsie's Table, 497 Washington Street, Canton, Mass. 02021. The public hearing will be held on Tuesday, October 24th, 2023, on or after 7 p.m. in the Sala Meeting Room, second floor, Memorial Hall, 801 Washington Street, Canton, Mass. 02021. Submitted by Michael Loughran, the clerk of the Canton Select Board. I move that the board open the public hearing.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion here? None. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, 4-0. Mr. Loughran.
So sorry, I apologize. This is just to update the liquor license. Is that right, Mr. Duty?
Yes.
For the patio.
Sorry, I've got it now. They are adding a dining patio, which has been approved by the ZBA. All the paperwork is in order, and the recommendation is to approve the alteration. Unfortunately, Renee Roberts, who is running Elsie's Table, was unable to be at this meeting tonight, but she was looking for an affirmative vote.
Any further discussion? Nope. Hearing none. Is there a motion?
I move that the board close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that's 4-0.
I move that the board approve the application for alteration of premises for WKB Incorporated, doing business as Elsie's Table, 497 Washington Street, Canton, Mass. 02021.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion, comments, questions? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, 4-0. Mr. Loughran.
Next, we have a discussion on the compensation for elected officials, and I believe we have the chair of the Finance Committee, Ms. Thomas, coming to the table.
Thank you to the Select Board for having me here this evening. Just to do a brief refresher, because I know we have some new board members as well as members of the public who may not be familiar with the conversation that we had in the spring back in March. One of the issues that's come up year after year at town meeting is the compensation structure for part-time elected officials. And if you've been to town meeting, you're aware that we have some elected officials who get small, but do get compensation, and we have some elected officials who do not. In the past, it's been proposed that all compensation for elected officials be eliminated, and that has never passed town meeting. So the Finance Committee undertook it this past winter to really dig into this issue a little bit more, figure out if we could figure out why the current structure was the way it was. And to be honest, there's not a lot of rhyme or reason. So, but in the course of our review and in our efforts to begin to think about a plan for a more equitable compensation structure for part-time elected officials, it came to our attention that the Select Board passed a policy in 2003 that provided some provisions for part-time elected officials to get town benefits. I want to be clear that as of today, there is only one elected official in this town who is taking advantage of that in any way. It is not a member of the Select Board, and it is only for life insurance, which has a cost of $75 for the town. So the current situation is a sort of low impact, if you will. But in fact, the vulnerability for the town is that if a part-time elected official chose to take advantage of health insurance, life insurance, dental insurance, the cost would be in the order of $7,800 a year for one elected official. So the Finance Committee's position was, before we could look at any changes to compensation for part-time elected officials, we really needed to address the benefit issue. And I came before you in March with the Finance Committee's request that the Select Board consider rescinding that policy. I also want to remind everyone that there is no retirement eligibility. That's another myth that's sort of out there. The level of compensation that elected officials, and I should just caveat, this does not include the town clerk, who is a full-time employee of the town. I think that's important for me to be clear about. that no one gets compensation at a level that would warrant contribution into the Norfolk County pension system or create any eligibility for retiree benefits. So I'm here before you this evening because we would like to move forward and request that the select board amend that policy in order to limit access to any health and any insurance benefits for part-time elected officials to only that one person who would be grandfathered in. And that would be with the understanding that when that person's term, their time as an elected official ended, their benefits would end. Should they run for a subsequent office, they would not be eligible for benefits. So we would be grandfathering them in as long as they continue to serve in their role currently as an elected official. So I think you have before you an amended policy for review. I know when I was in the school committee, we did a first read and a second read. So I assume this evening is your first read and review. And that, we would hope that at your next meeting, you would actually vote to proceed with rescinding the benefit eligibility for part-time elected officials.
Thank you, Ms. Thomas. Any questions for the chairman of the FinCom?
Mr.
Mr.
Chair,
Locker.
just a quick question. So I know we talked about grandfathering. Are we only speaking of that one elected? Okay, so if somebody finds out that we're changing this and they decide, hey, wait a minute, I want to opt in.
So I believe the way the policy is written, so there could be a little 2-week window of loophole there, but the way we've amended the policy would basically to say effective at the time the amended policy is adopted.
Okay, perfect.
So I would kind of hope nobody would slide in there. That would be a little bit disingenuous.
I have no issue with the amendment at all.
Is there a motion to take it under advisement till the next meeting?
Sure, so we don't need a motion for that. We'll just take it on because it's our first read.
Right. And once that happens, given all of what we have on the agenda now with a special town meeting, I'm not sure where the timing is and how we'll be proceeding for revisiting the whole compensation schedule. But that will be on our future agendas for the Finance Committee once this issue is resolved. So,
Thank you.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cindy. Mr. Locken.
Next, we have the Friends of the Library Road Race discussion. And we have Mr. Quinn here, I believe.
Yep.
Yep. Oh, I saw you, sir.
Ms. McDermott.
And Patty McDermott. And Patty McDermott.
I do believe we have 2 members of the Library Board of Trustees. Thank you. I don't want to take your thunder. I'm sorry, Billy.
That's okay. You beat me to it. I appreciate that. So yes, I am Bill Quinn. I am the current president of the Friends of the Library, and with me is Patty McDermott, our vice president. We are here today for 2 topics. The first one being the 5K that we are looking to set up. We're looking to do that on April 28th at 9 o'clock in the morning. This is new for us. We've not done something like this before, but we keep trying to push the envelope and find new ways of doing fundraising. So the plan for the 5K would be that it would start at the library parking lot, go up Washington Street, and then up Pleasant Street, Sherman Street, and back to the library parking lot. We've already reviewed that course with Deputy Cheryl. She's all set. We have agreed to put a water table at the Pequot Lawns for roughly a halfway point so people can have their water spot. We are hoping for somewhere between 100 to 300 people. I think we'll see how it goes. It's the very first time we've done this. We're doing it in 2 parts. We're going to have a competitive run, so people can use this run in order to qualify for other races. But we're also going to have a family walk component where people can walk with their kids and strollers and that type of thing. So yeah, that's really what we're looking to do. I don't know if anyone has any questions. The only thing that I would add before I forget is that as far as insurance, our insurance renews the first week of January. So we're not able to provide an insurance certificate yet. So we are making this request contingent on insurance. But once we receive the renewal from Galvin's, we'll be back with that as soon as we receive it.
Right.
As well as coming in for a after party request, which again, we'll have to wait until we get the new insurance renewed to do that one as well.
Great, thank you. Ms. McDermott, do you want to say anything?
I'm here to support Bill and I'm working on the project
You're not
with
gonna
him.
have to.
And it's a tremendous group working on this, including Jen Cremillion, so it's great. We're great.
Great, thank you. Any other questions from any members? Is there a motion?
So in my packet, I don't have a motion to approve the race. I had the Friends of the Library here to approve a wine and malt beverage. Is that an old?
No, we're here for that as well.
Okay,
I'm greedy.
that's all right.
Two items, yes.
That's
You
all
two
right.
items.
So I don't mind doing a motion for the road race. It just wasn't in the packet, so.
We get more people if there's wine and malt beverages after the race, correct?
Well, we're kind of thinking about that one. We'll talk to you in January.
Absolutely.
All
Mr.
right,
Lockron.
so I make a motion to approve the Friends of the Canton Public Library Road Race and Fun Run that is going to be held on Sunday, April 28th, starting at 9 o'clock, contingent upon the insurance certificate being forwarded to the Select Board's office.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion, comments, concerns? Hearing none, look for a motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, 4-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck.
The
Well,
other
they're not
item
done
we-
yet.
Not done yet.
The other item we have is Carolyn Elcourt is having one of her cookbook clubs on November 28th. It is an Italian night themed event.
Nice.
The Friends of the Library still has one more event for which we have insurance coverage. And so we've been working with Carolyn that she can serve wine at that cookbook club event that evening. And we're talking about 30 people in the community room, so it's not a huge event. And so that is the second item that we're looking for an approval for wine and malt beverage.
We would have a
You should do the
certified
first
person
one
there as
first.
well.
Okay, yeah, certified.
What's that?
We still got one to do, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
that this is the
Yep.
I move that the board approve an application to obtain a special license to serve wine and malt beverages at a one-day event to be held for the Friends of the Canton Public Library located at 786 Washington Street, Canton, for a, is it a book fair, book tour?
Cookbook club.
For a book club on November 28th, 2023, from 6 PM to 9 PM, contingent upon building commissioner, police chief, and fire chief approval.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, 4-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Best of luck. Good luck.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Mr. Lockron.
Next, we have the MBTA zoning update.
We have Town Planner TJ Torres and Mr. Kevin Shea. Welcome.
Point that, hit the blue button, see if you get that. Warm up.
Coming up now.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Town Planner TJ Torres, joined by Housing Coordinator Kevin Shea, who's going to start us off once this warms up.
You can probably read it now.
Yeah.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, we're here tonight on behalf of the MBTA zoning working group, which the Select Board put together approximately a year and a half ago. And we're here to give a final update on the working group's efforts to comply with the new MBTA housing zoning law. Just if we could take a second, just a little bit of background information. The new zoning act was passed back by the state legislature in January of 2001, and it applies to 177 municipalities, including Canton. Basically, any municipality with a commuter rail, transit, MBTA station is included. The MBTA community is required to have at least one zoning district, which multifamily housing is permitted as of right. Minimum gross density of 15 acres per 15 units per acre, and the unit is defined as 1,000 square foot building space. The other requirement is located no more than 0.5 miles from commuter rail station, and no age restrictions and suitable for families with children. the Mass Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities, formerly the Department of Housing and Community Development, also created specific requirements for each town based on its size, population, and housing units. In Canton's case, our zone must allow for the following: a minimum model unit capacity of 1,490 units, minimum land area in acres of 50 acres, development station area of 450 acres, and 50% of the district needs to be located within the station areas. The important thing to note here, and it's a lot of times people don't understand this concept, but what they've tried to do is that the law does not require the actual production of housing. It requires us to create zoning that allows for a certain amount of housing within the designated zone. So again, the town's not under the gun to provide those housing units. This is a zoning issue. And I think that's a really, really important piece of understanding all of this. The next map indicates the half-mile radius, which we're in compliance with. The half-mile radius is between Canton Junction as well as Canton Center. So the town basically complies with that. A little bit about the process. Back in October, the Select Board established a working group which included Town Administrator Charlie Doody, Planning Board Member Jim Quigley, Zoning Board of Appeals Chair Greg Pando, Building Commissioner Ed Walsh, myself, interim Town Planner Gene Manning, and then Taylor came on board as the permanent Town Planner. We also received a grant from Mass Housing Partnership, and we received technical assistance from Mass Housing Partnership to get us going in terms of the technical assistance that we needed. A huge help to us was our town's MIS coordinator, Kelsey Quinlan, who basically took care of all the maps for us. There's probably hundreds of maps. And we were able to kind of get through at least the initial part of the process. In March, the town received approval of its action plan, which we sent to the state, which meant that we have at least temporary compliance, which means even though the zoning isn't passed yet, we still can apply for state grants, MassWorks grants, Housing Choice grants, and so forth. The working group met monthly through the spring and summer of 2023 to discuss and tweak details. We spent a lot of time on things like lot size, height, district boundaries, density, and site plan requirements. One of the big issues in the law is that they allow site plan review. So that's still under the domain of the town. In terms of achieving the most desirable outcome and having the town comply with the new zoning act, the major objectives and directions of the group were, first, to reflect the vision of the town's master plan, consider the visions and recommendations of the Canton Junction Equitable Transit-Oriented Development Plan, which isn't that old, which was done back in 2020 with the help of Metropolitan Area Planning Council. The other issue was to take advantage of areas that have already been developed with multifamily housing, and use dimensional and design standards which would be consistent with surrounding areas and the character of the community. The MBTA working group, after quite a bit of time, identified an area of approximately 147 acres located between Canton Center and Canton Junction stations. We put this map in. This map actually came from the Canton Junction study. It doesn't totally encompass the same boundaries, but it pretty much includes the same boundaries that people worked on about 3 years ago with Metropolitan Area Council, Chapman, the Ponset area, then over by Revere and Sherman Street.
All right, thank you, Kevin. So you have a background on the law and sort of the process that Canton took in developing the working group and approaching how do we come up with the best proposal to be compliant. So how does that shake down at the local level? Well, the state created a compliance model, which is an Excel spreadsheet with macro rules as a mechanism for us to test our compliance, and then ultimately we will submit that model. And I apologize if I get too technical here. So it began GIS shapefile data. Kelsey Quinlan, our GIS coordinator, drew the boundaries on her GIS software and then imported that into the compliance model. And it draws the parcel data from state property maps, gets imported into the spreadsheet. Then it removes excluded land from the calculation so that things like publicly owned land, rivers and streams, wetlands, protected open space, so that doesn't count against us when we're trying to achieve compliance. It also removes age-restricted housing, which we'll see with Millside, because the law says has to be available for families with children, and if you're restricting it by age, then that doesn't comply with the law. Something to note. The compliance model, something that the working group disagrees with in the way it's being implemented, is it does not count non-conforming lots toward model unit capacity. What that means is, say we come up with the minimum lot size under the zoning, which in our case, we'll get to it, it's going to be 1 acre. It takes all the lots that are not that 1 acre and essentially excludes them. And we don't like that because technically somebody could, buy up smaller lots and then make them conform, but the state has, and we've asked the question, they've said that they are going by the existing lots. So it's another thing we had to work through. Then the model allows us to put in dimensional limits. So things like minimum lot size, maximum height, parking requirements, open space requirements, lot coverage maximums for building or building plus parking, floor area ratio, setbacks, etc. And then once you have your boundaries, you have all your parcel data, you input your limits, and it spits out on the summary page whether you comply or not. So it's kind of a learning curve at first. There's a lot to it, but once you get the hang of it, you can really play with it and tweak different things, different boundaries, different limits, and come up with kind of your best fit scenario. And after that, final compliance is still subject to a manual review by EOHLC. So not only does what you submit have to comply, but they will manually review it just to be sure and catch anything they see. So I'll take you through the final map that the working group has settled on and is putting forward. And keeping in mind the lot size matter that we talked about, due to that, we tried to really cut around the larger parcels because that's what the system is rewarding. It's not really giving you much credit for any smaller parcels. So working up through Walpole Street, there's a couple of large housing condominium and apartment complexes there. And we wanted to capture what we've already built, right? So we have a couple on Walpole Street. The only things in that area that are not housing is the power station on the corner railroad track in Walpole, and then the Jack Madden Ford right next to that. Working your way up, we have the Chapman-Jackson block and the Canton Junction area. So from Chapman to the railroad tracks. And that, if anything on this map, that's where you may see some potential changes based on the law. You may or may not, but there's a lot of commercial in that area, some smaller multifamily houses. So that's where you may have the potential to see some change. It's going to depend on the property owner whether continuing the business is more profitable for them, or do they want to sell, go somewhere else. We don't know the answer to that, but just to point out, that's an area where there is some commercial. Hop over the tracks, going between Revere Street and the tracks, you have the Coppersmith developments that are almost all built, but all permitted. Working your way south, we have the Plymouth Rubber development that's already been built, and the only thing excluded there is Millside, but the rest of it, we're trying to get credit for what's already been done. So all of that we're capturing in this district. Between Revere Street and the track, so the northeastern side of Revere Street, you have maybe 3 parcels that meet the minimum requirement that are currently commercial. The zoning there has already been changed to general residence. I'm not sure when, sometime in the past. So you could see some change there. But then just southeast of that, you have Paul Revere Village already built out in Canton Cornerstone. And then northeast of the tracks along Sherman Street, which you may, it's kind of funny looking around that edge there. But because this has to be contiguous, we wanted to capture some of the developments already existing on Sherman Street and really get credit for that land area. So there's about 5, I think, or so parcels with Grover Estates and the other one on Sherman Street with those 3 different buildings, and we wanted to capture that, so we did. Now, the proposed dimensional requirements. So the law changes the fact that, okay, now a multifamily, a large residential project comes in the zone. We don't have the special permit ability to say yes or no, but we do have the ability to set a lot of dimensional requirements so that whatever does come through, we make sure we're applying our standards so we get, what we want out of it. 1 acre minimum lot size, and the group felt strongly about having a larger minimum lot size because they wanted to see the complexes that have the amenities in the open space and the affordability, which we'll get to a little bit later in the slide. We set the maximum height at 3 stories. I know height can be something that comes to mind a lot when people think about, laws like this and high density housing, but we were able to set that at 3 stories. 30-foot front setback, 20-foot side and rear setbacks, 1.5 parking spaces minimum that we're requiring per unit, and 1 bicycle parking space also required per unit. 30% open space requirement at each development with the same common open land language already found in the center, Canton Center Economic Development overlay, so that, it really defines what open space is and how that's usable to the people who live there. 10% of units, the working group decided to mandate that be affordable housing, which means people making up to 80% of the family income, household income limits can live there. Now, the state didn't require this. They did say that we can't require more than 10%. So the group decided to go with the maximum 10% and also a 10% workforce housing, which is up to 110% of the area median income. And the reason we wanted to kind of preserve the affordable housing to keep with our 40B threshold number, and also so that, our people's children and parents who may be getting priced out of the community, how do we have different housing options available to them? And we also put in local preference language for those income restricted units to favor people who live or work in Canton. And the town of Dedham did this with their MBTA zoning that's already passed town meeting, passed state compliance, and they included this language, so we know that it qualifies. It's also subject to site plan review by the ZBA and planning board. All existing performance and building codes must be met. And we were able to tack on design review, the same as we already have in the existing Canton Center Economic Opportunity District. So really the working group tried, multiple months of meetings to really, we have to swallow the pill, but we're gonna get the best out of it that we possibly can.
Let me just add one thing on this will be an overlay district. One of the things would be proposed in the zoning ordinance is to eliminate the Canton Center Economic District Area C, which is up around that area, so there wouldn't be too confusing, too many overlay districts. That would be eliminated. This new one would be on top of it.
Yep, replaced with this.
And again, the next steps, recommendation from the town's MPDA Community Working Group to the Planning Board for public hearing and deliberations. That starts tomorrow. It's on the agenda for tomorrow. The next step is to submit it to the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities for pre-approval. Again, then it would go to the Planning Board submission of the zoning article text and zoning map for spring 2004 town meeting. And in order to achieve compliance, Canton must adopt the language district map and adoption by town meeting and the compliance model by the end of December 2024. That's for all of the MBTA communities, the same timeline. And again, as we mentioned, I think the last time we were here, this goes through the same zoning process that the town normally goes through. It would have to go back to the planning board, select board, and ultimately town meeting for approval.
And if any of those boards or the town meeting doesn't approve it, then it's dead, and we on the could be to legal according to the Attorney General. I asked that question before and was never answered. It's not you two, it was the consultant. So I just like to get that answer sometime.
Yeah,
We could approve it, the planning board could approve it, everyone could approve it, the town meeting says no, then where does that leave us? We did our good faith, but I assume they're gonna say, no, that doesn't count.
We're trying to find that out.
Would you please?
Yeah.
Good, thank you.
Chair.
Yes, sir.
One of the biggest things listed in this is you can build it by right, so that takes a lot away. When you get by right on anything, it eliminates a certain amount of protections that this town has to do it, so that's an issue. You have the minimum modeled unit capacity of 1490 based on the map you have. What is the maximum capacity of units if that was built out completely to your standards? Do they have a maximum? Right now, it says we can meet the minimal of 1490, but with that area that's denoted, if it was maximum, if everybody sold out and built out all these units, what would be the maximum that we could put there? Do you have a number?
We're still tweaking the final numbers of the compliance model, but I can get you that. And
Yeah, because this map, it's a mandate by the state.
Mhm.
And if we don't do it, we're subject to, once again, maybe no funding from the state on budget things. But this has the potential of decimating the Ponce Street and Chapman Street. If it's a complete build out. And you have a lot of properties out there, you give them an offer, they'll sell their properties. I'm not saying they're gonna, but there's a potential for a lot of units to go down there. And I'd like to know the maximum. And then if our infrastructure cannot handle it, there should be something, I believe there is something in there.
There
But
is.
what is our protections on that? Because right now, I understand the Hanson's at capacity with its elementary. Kennedy's got modulars. I mean, if we put 1,490 units there and we have 50 to 60 kids coming in this, we're got a problem already. We haven't even, that's at the minimum. So I'm very concerned about the maximum. And I also said this before, I think that just because we have train stations doesn't mean we should be picked on by putting all these units here. If the state wants to make affordable housing by train stations, have them pull the train stations out to rent them in other areas and build them there. I think it's a discriminative thing that we just have train stations and we're going to be forced to do that. So those are my concerns on this. And we really got to look at this because this area, everybody knows the Ponce Street and Chapman. It's busy now. You put 1,490 units there, I don't care where you are. It's going to be a lot busier. You got traffic control and lights. And we have traffic committees here that are getting inundated with requests as it is. So it is a big concern in this area. It's a big concern to me. So thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. McCourt. Any other questions or comments?
I just want to say thanks for all the, I mean, obviously I'm part of not the working group, but I really do appreciate all the work. It is a mandate from the state that we implement this MBTA zoning. And I think the working group did a very good job of still trying to protect Canton and the character of the town while still complying with this. So,
Unfunded mandate, right?
yeah, one of your favorites.
Any other questions or comments? You need a vote for it. Mr. TJ, go ahead.
I was just gonna add, because you mentioned the 1490, it's not 1490 additional units on top of what's there. It's if you took, it's all theoretical. So if you took the whole district that we created and everything was a blank slate, there was nothing, it was all leveled, how many 1,000 square foot units could be built given our dimensional requirements? So that's what the 1490 number is. It's not additional. So just wanted to clear that up.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Torres. Mr. Shea, anything else, sir?
Nothing.
Is there a motion?
So there's nothing for us to vote on at this
No,
time. You're going to go to
We're just
planning
giving a
first.
final update.
You're going to the planning board
Select
tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night.
Yep.
And I believe a public hearing probably early in December from the planning board.
Yep.
Okay, Mr. McCourt, nothing? All set?
I'm all set. Thank you.
Okay, thank
Yep,
you.
thank you.
Guys. Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Shea.
you.
Thank you, Mr. Torres.
I think I'm next.
And Mr. Shea,
Mr.
before
Shea, you're
you
not-
leave,
You're not going anywhere.
and right there. Next, Mr. Chair, we have the Affordable Housing Trust's final FY 2025 CPA application, which is in our packet. So, Mr. Shea?
Yes, looking for authorization to submit it. It's due, it's done. It's due Friday to the CPC committee. Got an electronic copy as well as a hard copy. Basically, what this is to do is to fund the part-time housing coordinator position starting in FY '25, which basically is July 1st of
Yeah, you're ahead.
2024. The ask is for $40,000, which is roughly part-time salary plus some office expenses in there. very similar to the last funding round. I believe it was about the same amount.
Yep.
So we're asking for authorization to actually submit it on Friday.
Any questions for Mr. Shea?
I make a motion that we approve the CPA application for FY '25 for the Affordable Housing Trust request.
Second,
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further comments, questions, concerns?
Just, sorry, Mr. Chair, just so that it's on public, that the CPA funding requested is $40,000. Sorry.
second.
Second, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, 4-0. Thank you, Mr. Shea.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a good night.
Sir.
Thanks, Kevin. See you tomorrow.
Walker.
Sorry. Next, we have the CCM Hockey House proposal event on Kenny Street, and I believe we have the resident, Mr. Gabe Barati.
Welcome, Mr. Brady.
Hello there. Thanks for having
Hi,
me,
sir.
everybody. Well, I'm here to talk about something fun for the town. So what we're trying to do is, well, does everybody know who CCM is? Okay, so CCM is basically a hockey manufacturer. They manufacture hockey sticks, skates, equipment. They're a big player, both in Canada, United States, and hockey equipment. So every year, CCM holds an event called the CCM Hockey House. Okay. So what that is basically they pick a house every year. So last year was actually handled in Toronto. Okay. So this year they were looking for somebody in the Northeast of, United States. So they wanted to do Boston. So we got selected because we have a rink in our backyard to hold this event. So the event is basically for kids. Kids being, sixth graders up to high school. Okay. So what they do is it's a 3-day event. It is a invite only. Okay. There is to be no parking at the house. It's all off-site parking. You can't just show up. And kids will come here in groups of about 10 to 20. And what they do is they go through the house. The house is actually transformed in such a way that they'll have, just to give you an example, one of the rooms is a barbershop. One is a comedian clinic. One room is a Gatorade room, they call it. One room is a goalie activation room. One room is a locker room. There's a gaming room, and there's a skate shop, where after the kids go through the house, they'll go downstairs and they'll get skates, which they don't bring there. They're given there, and they get to go out and skate on the rink. So it's a pretty cool thing for the town. Canton having its rich hockey communities. I think one of the reasons why we got picked for it, and that's kind of what we pushed. So it's an exciting thing for the town, and we hope you guys let us have it.
Any questions from any members of the board?
Is there an actual ice rink built in the backyard?
There is.
And what if it's hot?
So
Just curious.
yeah, so the rink has chillers inside it, underneath it, but that was one of the major things. So it's the event's gonna happen November 16th through the 18th.
Yeah.
I know, that was a big thing.
Okay.
So what we're hoping is that it's a little bit cold, cold enough so we can make some ice.
Yeah.
And if we
Well,
can't,
good luck
then
with that.
this will be on rollerblades. I don't know what to say. So,
And the neighbors are on board, correct? The neighbors
so
are
we
notified?
already went around, got a petition signed, which we
You have
hand-
you have a copy of that for your records, in case we need it, right?
absolutely.
Okay,
And the
good.
town does. Yeah, we already
Town
handed
does,
it.
okay.
Yeah, they have it too.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, everybody's been notified. And there's more neighbors that are kind of on the outskirts that I plan on going to talk to them also.
The more the merrier would be nice.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
Mr. Lockman?
Mr. Barati, the only thing that I see in the packet is zoning is still waiting on you meeting with them on the 26th.
Yes,
Okay.
Thursday. I have to go to that meeting too.
Okay.
So basically, the marketing company Mosaic is in Canada, so they're the ones who are working for CCM. I offered to sit in for them just so somebody wouldn't have to hop on a plane and come down here for a
Yep,
meeting.
yep.
So they'd probably do a little better job than me, but, we're winging it,
It's all right.
But not as passionate as you.
maybe.
Any other questions for Mr. Barati? Mr. Lockton?
So, police and fire have approved it, so I move that the board approve a permit for a multi-day event to be held, sorry, I gotta get the address. I should know.
65 Kenny.
65 Kenny. To be held at 65 Kenny on November 16th, 17th, and 18th, contingent upon zoning board of appeals approval.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion, comments, concerns? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that's 4-0. Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Best of luck.
Thank
Good
you.
luck.
Hope it gets cold out.
Yeah. Right, see,
Mr.
I
Lockton.
don't. Hate it. Next, we have the town administrator report. I refer to Mr. Duty.
Mr. Duty?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a few things. First on the list is just an update on the status of the administrative code. So clearly, it's been a busy fall with special town meeting and budgets and things like that taking place. It's slowed down the progress a little bit, but we'll continue to work on it. We're going to target our first draft for review in January is our hope. And we understand that, one of the requests that we received is for an update to the Select Board Code of Conduct, and that will be part of that update. So we're hoping to get you something in January for that. Jennifer Chameleon and myself have been working on it as
Thank
time
you.
allows. The second thing is an update on the dog park. I know we had some questions about the dog park, one of our meetings, and the good news is that Canton Holdings has proposed a revised plan for the dog park, which will be located on the Copperworks property, the Paul Revere property that people are familiar with. Right now, the design plan has been forwarded to the Conservation Commission for their review. And I understand that the conservation agent is looking at it favorably, which is great. And the nice thing about the new proposal is not only is it on the site, but it's larger than the original proposed dog park. And as part of this proposal, there will be a second dog park for smaller dogs. So those folks with smaller dogs will have a special place to go there. So we're continuing to move that through. The next phase of this, after Conservation has a chance to rule on it, we will organize a neighborhood meeting. So all the abutters that are within 300 feet of the dog park, we want to get together and get their feedback and let them know what the proposal is.
And the dog park people have been on board, correct?
Yeah, the Friends of the Canton Dog Park have been involved. They toured the site, representative toured the site, and seemed quite pleased with the proposal.
Great, thank you.
Next thing is an update on the Serenity Garden. I don't know if you're familiar with the project, but 3 years ago, as the Community Club of Canton proposed a project called the Serenity Garden, and it was an opportunity to purchase bricks or a bench to remember those that were lost to substance use disorder. And they undertook a fundraiser to do that, and they raised $18,750 at the time. Over the course of those 3 years, that money is it's in the budget right now, and it has not been used yet. The project, when COVID hit, kind of lost steam, and then the folks that were really the champions of the project moved on from the community club, so it kind of slowed down. But we're trying to revitalize that project, and we want to get that moving forward again. A site has been selected at the Armando facility in kind of the front lawn area. So the next phase of this will be to acquire some site design to design this kind of like patio type of thing where people buy the bricks and the person's name are on the bricks and the benches. So we need to get a design in order to get the cost estimate. But the funds are still available, and they will remain available until we come up with that design. So that's where we're at with that. Hopefully, we want to get that project underway in the spring. I don't think we can do it in the fall, but the spring would be the time we want to do that. And the final update that I have is kind of an unusual one. I don't know if there's any fishermen in the room, but if you are, be advised, the town has been notified that a species of fish has been found in the reservoir pond. The species is called the northern snakehead species of fish. And if you've ever seen it, it is not a pleasant looking fish. It has the body of a snake and the head of a fish. So we had one caught a couple of years ago. The person who caught it was an experienced fisherman and understood that that was not a normal species to be in that lake, and they took it out. They notified Fish and Game or the Department of Fisheries. They came down and looked at it and said, no, that's not supposed to be here. But at the time, they thought that perhaps it was just dumped in there and it was a one-off. As it turns out, it looks like that it was probably more than one, because some, I don't know what you call baby snakehead fish were found. So the Department of Fisheries has posted the res with signs notifying anglers of this species, and if they catch it, to please do not return it to the waterways and to notify them immediately. In the spring, there's some mitigation efforts that are planned to try to see if we can contain the species of fish. So I will keep you advised as that moves along. And that is all I have.
Thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Lockren.
Next, Mr. Chair, we have a vote to close non-essential municipal offices on November 24th and December 22nd, 2023. So I move that the board close the non-essential municipal offices on November 24th, 2023 and December 22nd, 2023, and employees use their own time to make the day whole. And so this is something that we do each year for the employees.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion, comments, concerns? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, 4-0. Thank you.
Next, I move that the board approve the livery license for Sunshine Livery.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded, and has to be approved by the police. Is that correct, Mr. Duty? The police have to approve it. Is that
For
correct?
Sunshine, yeah.
I do not know, Mr. Chairman, if they've approved it or not.
Because I think I would assume they have to be, background check a license and everything like that. So just check with the police department if we could.
Sure, I'll reach out to them
Please.
tomorrow.
You would.
Mr. Chair, I'll amend the motion. I move that the board approve the livery license for Sunshine Livery contingent upon police approval.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further comments, questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's 4-0. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Lockren.
I move that the board approve the select board meeting schedule for January 2024 to June 2024,
Second.
Subject to change, correct?
subject to change.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussions, comments, concerns? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? That's 4-0. Mr. Lockren.
Next, we have a vote to approve a request to hold a block party on October 31st, 2023, from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. and street closure at the intersection of Dunbar and Greenwood to the intersection of Bailey and Messenger, contingent upon building, fire, and police department approval. So I don't know if we have anybody here from the neighborhood.
You can step to a microphone.
Hi there, I'm Adrienne Sullivan from 4 Bailey Street. I'm the spokesperson for the Messenger Street group here. So I believe that Laurie presented you with, I know that Canton Police Department had some concerns. We had done this exact closure on a Sunday during the day 2 years ago, which was approved pretty easily. And I understand the concerns this year were rush hour traffic and that it would now be dark. So Canton Police Department had asked that we provide halogen lighting and that we make sure that we have proper barricades and signage for road closure. We have provided all of that. Canton Public Works, I spoke with Larry Vogue today. He has barriers and road closure signs for both areas. In addition, we have purchased the halogen lighting requested by the police department. We also have additional barricades and lighting that one of our neighbors has set up.
Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, I have one. This is on Halloween,
It's on Halloween
which
night.
is it's a pretty busy night. I imagine your neighborhood's pretty busy. I'm in Cedar Crest. Mine's very busy.
Yeah.
But to hold to block off that area on that particular day presents a problem to me because I could see every neighborhood in this community wanting to do the same thing. I personally wouldn't because I like the 400 kids coming to my house every year, and it's crazy looking up the street and seeing it. But I think that's an issue that if we approved your request, I could just see 30 requests coming in next year or annually. And there's absolutely no way we could shut the town down to that extent. And my other question would be if you shut off from Greenwood to Messenger, what is it, to Walnut or
Bailey.
to Bailey?
So
What happens is you're gonna have people coming in on Dunbar and going down Greenwood and actually doing U-turns, where you probably have a police detail there. It just seems to be such of all the nights, it's the worst night to probably actually do that, because I'm concerned that other people in other communities or other neighborhoods would want to do the same exact thing. That's it's a great idea, but we could not shut all the neighborhoods on Halloween. A lot of neighborhoods would want that, but it's just not functional to do that. So I don't think it's just it's a hard call for me.
to your point, if you want to speak to this, Siobhan.
Just a
Yeah,
just
no,
a
that's fine. No.
couple of candid comments. First of all, I greatly
So can you just, your name and address
Oh,
when you
sure.
speak, please? Sorry.
Siobhan Johnson, 185 Messenger Street.
Thank you.
My husband and our 2 children have been living there for 12 years now, and we greatly appreciate the street calming measures that the board has allowed on our street. It is a street teeming with children and really vibrant due to the pond and due to the park being on our street. We just love our neighborhood. In this particular instance, we're not holding a block party at all. All we're looking to do is just for a certain amount of hours, stop their traffic for coming down, because our children are now in the ages of primarily 10, 11, 12, 13. They want to go trick-or-treating, and they primarily would like to go trick-or-treating by themselves. Unfortunately, we live on a street that's not safe for them to do. Even with parents out with flashlights on Halloween evening, people come down Messenger Street far too fast for it to be safe. So I can confidently say on behalf of our neighborhood, we're actually not holding a block party at all. We're just looking for a couple of hours where it'd be safe for our school-age children to go up and down and trick or treat, have a great time, and be safe. The safety of our children is the concern here, not a party at all.
So, Mr. Chair, if I may, I'm sorry.
Ansar Halilovic, 220 Messenger Street. Just wanted to remind and sort of ask in particular here for perhaps a favor for the residents who endured the detour on Messenger Street the whole summer, 3 months. Very dangerous getting out of the driveways and backing out the driveway. No way. You had to turn around, face forward so that to get out. So you mentioned everybody else would ask next year. Maybe we can make this one time, one last, whatever it is, just to, in recognition of perhaps of what that street had to endure during the months of summer when the kids are playing, when there's no school and so forth. Thank you.
So, Mr. Chair, I do echo Mr. McCourt's concerns that, where it's, the request is for a block party, but it is essentially to shut down the neighborhood so that kids can trick or treat. I can see York Street, Elm Street, places that don't have sidewalks coming to us next year. And I'm just afraid of the precedent that we're setting, closing down a neighborhood on Halloween.
Any other questions or comments? No, I can understand, and I feel, I know you had block parties in the past, but they're on a Sunday afternoon, and this is at nighttime, so my concern, it's the busiest day of the year, and there won't be a police officer available because we're going to be tight, and that's probably one of the busiest days of the year, nights of the year, excuse me, and I'm concerned for safety, I really am. So I can't support it either. I apologize because, it's in the middle of the week. If it was a Sunday, it'd be different. So I apologize, but I just can't really support it at this time because it was set a precedent. So I'm sorry. I apologize.
One more comment
Sure.
to your point
Go ahead, Ms. Sullivan.
about safety. I very much understand, not wanting to set a precedent. The area we're shutting down, there's very It's very easy detour. It's a very easy to turn around on Greenwood, very easy to get to Bailey, bypassing on Old Shepherd or Walnut. And obviously, York Street, you can't shut down York Street. I understand that we can't do this with every neighborhood. But in neighborhoods where it is, you can have a proper bypass to direct traffic in a safe way. I think that it should be considered. Why not allow neighborhoods that are willing to do the legwork, procure their own barricades? We have our neighbor built barricades, created signage, bought lighting. This is Halloween night. If someone's going to hit a barricade, they might hit a child. That's the point.
And I totally sympathize with your plight. I really do. I live on Oakdale Road. Oakdale Road, Cedar Crest. If you come down there at Halloween, there are hundreds, literally hundreds of kids in that neighborhood. And my street was never a cut through when I grew up. Now it's a cut through from Dedham Street, Cedar Crest, whatever. And it would be virtually impossible for us to shut that neighborhood down because Dedham Street would be a parking lot. And I know that there would be residents in my own neighborhood that would want the same exact request as you do. Because, if we could just block off Maplecroft and Cedar Crest and Spring Lane and Fairview, that's it. We have our own little world, but that's just, it's not gonna happen. And even if it was just Oakdale and Birchcroft, it still wouldn't, it would just cause too much problems in that neighborhood just for the traffic. And I understand, my kids grew up in that neighborhood. We had cars going through it, and it's a great concept. But I just can't see with all the neighborhoods like mine and yours, and that's just two. We have Wentworth to consider. That whole neighborhood is another huge cut through and traffic problem. And I just don't think if we can't do for all, it just doesn't make sense to me. And I'm sorry, that's the way I read it. Thank you.
Yep, so there's no motion.
No motion.
Yeah.
So.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Please know that we respect the time that you've given us to express our concerns on behalf of our children. Please know we continue to gratefully respect and implore you to continue to give us as many street calming measures as you can. It's a neighborhood, like I said, teeming with children, alive and vibrant with the pond, especially in the winter when people come to skate on our pond and play in our parks. Just looking to keep our children safe. So even though today it was a no, just as future requests come forward for Messenger Street, you've heard us before with speed bumps and with great signage. And just please know we appreciate what you've done for us in the past. And we ask as we continue to try to make our neighborhood as safe as possible for the children. Even though it was a no tonight, we appreciate that if we bring forward additional requests, you will hear us as concerned citizens who just really want to thrive in Canton and keep our children safe in the neighborhood we're in.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening. Homework and bedtime must adjourn.
Mr. Lockron.
Next, we have a vote to reaffirm the application to obtain a special license to serve all alcohol at a one-day event at St. Oscar Romero Parish, 700 Washington Street, that occurred on October 21st, 2023, from 5 p.m. To 10 p.m. So I move that the board reaffirm the application to obtain a special license to serve all alcohol at a one-day event at St. Oscar Romero Parish, 700 Washington Street, held on October 21st, 2023, 5 p.m. To 10 p.m. This was a last-minute request that the applicant forgot to apply in time. So we're just cleaning it up.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any discussion, comments, concerns? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, 4-0. Mr. Lockron.
Next, I move that the board appoint Police Prosecutor Officer Edward Lehane. This is a temporary position to cover a retiring police officer. Officer Lenhart is retiring.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? I'll go to the board first, and then I'll go to you.
No
Ms.
questions.
Holly. Yes, just name and address for the record, please.
Kathleen Holly, 43 Sherman Avenue. Some information has come to light since the finalization of the agenda. This is the officer who has been going to people's homes, who signed the petition for the special town meeting and asking them who asked them to sign. He called me and he asked me to name the people who were collecting signatures. And I think that given this, what happened yesterday, that I would ask you to table this until, this can be fully vetted, because it seems to be a lack of judgment and a lack of understanding of civil rights and the Constitution. So many of us here have concerns that this officer would be going around to people who signed a petition and, intimidating them like that. So, thank you.
Yes, just name and record, please, Ms. Lombardi.
Yes, thank you very much. Rita Lombardi, 8 Kings Road. I would just like to say that the Officer Lehan indicated to Kathleen Howley that there was a forgery. Somebody complained that there was a forgery. Their signature was forged on the petition that had well over 100 extra signatures. And we would just like to ask the board, I would just like to ask the board that will we prosecute if there is a forgery or if there is a false claim, complaint that there was a forgery, would we prosecute to the full extent of the law? So if there is a forgery or if there is someone who was scared into saying that they didn't sign, will we prosecute to the full extent of the law?
So that's a question for the police department.
Police Department.
But you
Town Council.
oversee the police department.
I understand that, but I don't tell the police department how to police. They're conducting an investigation.
Okay. So
Officer
would you
Lehan is a
support?
detective.
Yes, I know.
And so as part of the investigation, he's doing his job.
Yes.
And so whatever comes of that will come of that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other comments, questions? Mr. McCourt?
The matter that was discussed 4 minutes ago, 5 minutes ago, came to light for myself today. And just in brief discussions that I have had with our town administrator, the Officer Lehan, when he was assigned to this task to investigate a criminal complaint that was filed at the police department. That as far as the knowledge that we know about this. So Officer Lehan's been on the force for quite a long, I think he was just doing his job. I don't think, from my understanding, is that he just contacted a couple of people in this investigation. But I don't know the full knowledge of that investigation, and I believe that we can follow up on this as, we determine, it just came to light. So we really don't know, but I don't think we should be punishing Officer Lehan in any which way by doing his job that he was charged to do. So I would support this temporary appointment, but it has no reflection on what has happened to me, to the people that he has interviewed. It's his job. He was assigned this case. It's his job to do the case. If he said, no, I'm not going to do the case, then he's got another problem. So I wouldn't find fault in that officer at this time. So I couldn't recommend holding off this appointment because of that. At this time, I have no fault in front of me for Mr. Lehan doing his job that he was assigned to do. And that's my answer to that, to this appointment. That's my answer.
I would just add one thing, that, he was very insistent that I give him the names of the people who were gathering the signatures because he wanted to interrogate them. This shows an appalling lack of knowledge about the United States Constitution, about civil rights. It's just appalling, an appalling lack of judgment.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
Just,
Mr. Chair.
just to update the board on
Yes.
recent developments. So a complainant did go to the police department and file a complaint alleging that signatures were not theirs. I spoke with the police chief this afternoon about the status of the investigation, and she has recommended that that investigation be sent up to the Attorney General's office so that the local police don't have involvement in it because of the potential conflict with town meeting, special town meeting. So I believe that she was calling this afternoon to see if the AG would be interested in taking that case.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Duty. Yes, miss.
Hi, Jennifer O'Donnell, 16 Walnut Knolls. Would that have any implication on the special town meeting that's scheduled in November?
No,
No, nothing,
Okay.
not at all.
no,
Thank you.
no.
So if I could follow up,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Duty, so who contacts the Attorney General to,
The police chief,
the police chief is going to contact the Attorney to basically
to ask them,
start,
if-
to
to ask
say
them
they'll
if they'd
take
be,
that
if they would take the
investigation over to
investigation.
that. So basically it eliminates the Canton Police from that investigation and it goes to the Attorney General's office. So I think that's a fair
Makes
and
sense.
reasonable thing to do. In this, in the case of you're discontented with the interview, but it just takes the Canton Police out of it in the situation at hand.
I think the damage has been done to democracy in Canton. If people are now afraid that they're going to get a phone call from a police officer if they sign a petition, the damage is done to democracy in Canton.
Bailey said, once again, if a complaint is filed by anybody in this room or a Canton resident to the Canton Police, they have to act on that complaint if it's a formal complaint. It has to be acted on, I believe. Am I right?
Yep, you are correct.
So, I mean, I think Mr. Lehan was doing his job.
Anything else? Any other comments? Mr.
So I made the motion, but I'll make it again. I move that the board appoint Police Prosecutor Officer Edward Lehan.
Second.
This is a temporary
Temporary, yep,
appointment.
until they,
We find it full-time.
Yep.
Because the
they're
prosecuting
short-staffed.
officer is retiring.
Yep.
Has retired. So we need a prosecuting officer at the courthouse. Any other discussion, comments, concerns? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, 4-0. Thank you.
Next, Mr. Chair, I move that the board appoint the town accountant, Allison Pajerski, which will take effect January 1st, 2024.
I second.
Motion's been made and seconded for the new town accountant, correct?
Yes.
Good appointment. She's a wonderful person, hard worker. All those in favor of appointing Allison Paderski, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, 4-0. Mr. Lockren,
I move that the board appoint Service Technician Joseph Walsh.
Second.
motion's been made and seconded for Mr. Walsh. Any further discussion, comments, concerns? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, 4-0. Mr. Lockren,
I move that the board appoint Special Heavy Equipment Operator Ryan Taylor.
Second.
motion made and seconded to the appointment of heavy equipment operator Ryan Taylor. Any further discussion, comments, concerns? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, 4-0. Mr. Lockren,
I move that the board appoint Seasonal Parks and Recreation Zumba Instructor Carmen Robles.
Second.
motion's been made and seconded to appoint Ryan, oh no, that's Ryan.
Carmen.
that's the first one. Carmen Robles. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, 4-0.
I move that the board appoint members to the Economic Development Committee, Tara Cull and Gregory Murphy.
Second.
Last chance. Sorry.
You have second thoughts?
I couldn't resist you just sitting there.
All in,
Sorry.
all in.
Second.
The motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor of the two appointments say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, 4-0.
I move that the board appoint Planning Board Representative to the Master Plan Implementation Committee, Patricia McDermott.
Second.
All those in favor of Ms. McDermott say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, 4-0.
I move that the board declare Parks and Recreation Department equipment as surplus, a 1989 Zamboni and a 2000 Ford pickup truck.
Second.
Motion made and second to declare those two pieces of equipment as surplus. Say, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, that's 4-0.
Mr. Barati, that'll be on a municipal
Yeah,
bid site
Mr.
if you
Barry's still there. There you go.
need that for your your backyard.
Then the neighbors will really talk, right? It still works. It does. Because we just got a second electrical one. That's why this is surplus. We finally got the one we ordered 3 years ago. So, for the rink, the Metropolis rink. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Mr. Lockren.
That's right. So next we have the 2024 annual town meeting timeline. So this is simply just a announcement. But on December 5th, 2023, the select board voted to open the warrant for the 2024 annual town meeting. Oh, sorry, this is not for the special town meeting. I apologize.
Annual town meeting.
The annual town meeting. So on December 5th, 2023, the Select Board will vote to open the warrant for the 2024 annual town meeting and close the warrant for zoning and non-zoning articles on Friday, January 5th, 2024 at 12 noon. December 29th, 2023, capital spending plan will be provided to CPC. January 5th, 2024, at 12 noon, the warrant closes for zoning and non-zoning articles. January 9th, 2024, the Select Board votes to refer zoning articles to the Planning Board. January 10th, 2024, the Select Board submits proposed zoning bylaw amendments to the Planning Board. That was a whole bunch. January 10th, 2024 to March 14th, 2024, the Planning Board public hearings. The hearings shall be held not more than 65 days after zoning articles are submitted to the Planning Board by the Select Board. January 10th, 2024, all departments' operating budget estimates for fiscal year 2024 are sent to the Finance Committee. January 12th, 2024, the draft ATM warrant to be sent to Town Council for review. February 6th, 2024, the Select Board votes to approve the annual town meeting warrant and execute the same. February 7th, 2024, approved warrant to be sent to the Finance Committee and department heads. February 20th, 2024, Select Board votes positive motions on town meeting articles. February 21, 2024, the Select Board provides its recommendations on pertinent warrant articles to the Finance Committee, or at least in March now. March 11, 2024, the ATM warrant must be posted by today, not less than 60 days prior to the start of ATM. March 15, 2024, the Capital Planning Committee submits their recommendations to the Finance Committee. March 15th, same day, is also the deadline for submission of Planning Board motions to Town Council. March 22nd, 2024, the deadline for submission of Finance Committee draft motions to Town Council. March 29th, 2024, deadline for approved executed municipal employment contracts for annual town meeting, which is not less than 45 days prior to the start of annual town meeting. The same day, that is also the deadline for submission for Finance Committee draft motion for employment contracts to Town Council. April 11th, 2024 is the pre-annual town meeting. April 15th, 2024, the warrant with recommendations and motions to be sent to the printer for publication. April 29th, 2024, the warrant with Finance Committee, Select Board, and Planning Board recommendations to be delivered to citizens by April 29th, which is 14 days prior to the start of annual town meeting. And then May 13th, 2024, the first session of annual town meeting begins at 7 p.m. I didn't like that one. It was a long one. Yeah.
Everybody get all that?
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Lockren.
Want me to repeat February? All right. Let's close that. Now we got to go to this stuff. All right. Next, Mr. Chairman, the vendor warrant total for the week of 10/13/2023, $2,055,207.40. The payroll warrant total for the week of 10/13/2023, $315,057.80. The vendor warrant total for the week of 10/20/23, $2,218,342.43. The payroll warrant total for the week of 10/20/23, $1,456,326.06. And the school longevity payroll, the payroll warrant total for the week of 10/20/2023, $256,292.50. Take a drink. All right. I move that the board approve the water and sewer commitment final bills.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion, comments, concerns? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's 4-0.
I move that the board approve the water and sewer commitment residential.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion, comments, concerns? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 4-0.
Next, we have the select board committee assignments, and I will defer to Mr. Duty, who's been working on this.
Thank you, Mr. Lockren. So as promised, we were able to finalize the committee assignments that the select board are required to be on by either town meeting vote or select board vote. So Traffic Committee will remain Mr. Theodore, Mr. Lochran. Reservoir Pond Committee will be Mr. Theodore. The Building Renovations Committee, Mr. Conley, and Mr. McCourt, I believe, is an at-large member. The Affordable Housing Trust, Mr. Lochran. The Master Plan Committee, Mr. Albert. The Norfolk County Advisory Board, Mr. Connolly. The CPC is Mr. Theodore, and then the newest committee, the Galvin Middle School Committee, Mr. Connolly is representing the board on that. So there were several other committees that have asked for a select board liaison, not necessarily a full-time member, and I will forward you those 5 committees so you all can take a look at that and see if you're interested in any of those particular committees, and then I'll get back to them and let them know who their liaison will be, should they require your presence for a particular topic.
Great, thank you, Mr.
Thank
Doody.
you.
Next, Mr. Chair, we have the office hours.
Oh, Ms. Smith?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I apologize.
Sorry. Christine Smith.
I'm in a
Three
zone.
Meadows- That's okay. Three Meadows Ave. Through you, through the chair to Mr. Doody, just curious how you decide who gets appointed to what committee?
Well, I don't really decide. I reach out to each of the members individually and assess, what their interest is in the committees. In some cases, the members were on these committees before I became the town administrator, and they wanted to stay on those committees, and that's pretty much how it went.
Thanks. I just thought people
Sure.
might have an interest in that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, please don't think that I assign them to, that's not, I don't have the authority to do that.
Thank you. Mr. Lochran?
Thank you. Office hours, update, the next select board open office hours will be on Halloween from 12 to 2 p.m., right? Is that the time?
correct.
Yep. Residents who are interested in meeting with a member of the select board will meet in the Sala meeting room to sign in and then brought into the conference room for approximately 15 minutes, depending on how many people show up.
This will be the
Thank you.
third round.
This will be the 3rd round.
Hi. Jennifer O'Donnell, 16 Walnut Knolls. Not on Halloween, but in future town select board hours, could they be after 5 o'clock? Just, it's really hard with school schedules and
Yep.
stuff to get, okay,
Yep.
thank
Do
you.
you want to explain the rotation, why we did it?
Yeah. So as you know, because you did attend the first one, which I
Yeah.
think was 7 to 9 or 6
In the
to 8.
last one, I couldn't because of,
It was
the
too
kids,
early, yeah.
yeah.
So we're just trying to rotate so that we can
Okay.
get trying to make sure that we're hitting people because some people can't come at night.
at night. Okay,
because of-
totally fine. Thank you so
Yep.
much.
But we'll keep announcing when the times are so that you can,
That makes more sense.
Yep.
knowing why the hours are-
yep, that's all. Next, Mr. Chair, sorry. I move that the board approve the minutes from the select board meeting of October 10th, 2023, and October 13th, 2023.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion, comments, concerns? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 4-0, thank you. Mr. Lochran?
In a topic not anticipated by the chair, I move that the board appoint the staff engineer, James Donahue.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion, comments, concerns? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, 4-0. Mr. Lochran?
The select board will hold its next meeting on Tuesday, November 7th, 2023, 7 p.m. in the Sala Meeting Room, Memorial Hall, 801 Washington Street. And if I could, Mr. Chair, I just have a couple other
Yes, sir.
announcements. As we discussed tonight, our special town meeting is going to be held at the CHS Auditorium on November 20th at 7 p.m. And then Parks and Recreation is having a couple of events this weekend. On Saturday, October 28th, they are having the Great Pumpkin Feud. Join the challenge versus Stoughton to have the most illuminated jack-o'-lanterns. So get a pumpkin, carve it out, and bring it to 92 Pleasant Street between 3:30 and 5 p.m. on Saturday, October 28th. The rec department will provide the light, and the official viewing is from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m., and light refreshments will be provided. And then on Sunday, we have the Halloween parade and party. So Sunday, October 29th from 1 to 3 p.m. A parade will start at the Bank of Canton and go to Canton High School. The lineup begins at 12:30 p.m. Everyone is invited. Get that costume ready to march. There will be great music with DJ Gary Titus, goodie bags, live creepy creatures, and a magician at Canton High School. and information for that can be found on the Parks and Rec website. That's all I have, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Logan. Any other comments or questions or announcements? Before we get into the public comment, I'd just like to read into the record as a reminder relating to items that are not on the agenda. The board is here to listen to residents' feedback and concerns, but the public comment portion of the meeting is not meant to be a dialogue. The public comment portion of the meeting is limited to 15 minutes total, and each speaker is allotted 3 minutes. I would encourage those that do wish to speak to be mindful of others in the room who do the same, so that we can make the most of the time allotted and hear from as many people as possible. Anyone who does not wish to speak or who is unable to due to time may submit their comments in writing for the board's review and consideration. Thank you. Mr. Kamal.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was struck by Mr. Duty's comments. There's certain things he can't do. And in fact, he also can't put me on the agenda after the agenda has closed. So I'm using this opportunity to bring some news to the select board from the Paul Revere Heritage site. And that is working with your chairman, Mr. Theodore, beginning in July, we began creating plans for a pavilion that would be on that site. And so I'm bringing notice before the select board tonight prior to a filing on Friday with the Community Preservation Act for a request to build that pavilion at the Paul Revere Heritage Site. I'll just be quickly, because I don't want to cut other people's time, but just let you know that our request will be for $200,000. This is on land that the select board controls, so I felt it incumbent upon us to let you know before we filed that paperwork, and would come back at your very next meeting in the hopes that you'll support that in a more public fashion. But again, in the spirit of just communication, letting you know. That money will be matched for an additional $50,000, which we already have in ARPA funds, so that this project, if approved at the next annual town meeting, would move forward into construction beginning in July of 2024. So it's a very quick shovel to the ground project. Looks like a really nice project. It will create a 2,400 square foot pavilion on the site of the former barn. There's a small space there that was a foundation that's in the ground to demarcate that, that site. We're working with architects and designers now. As you know, this is a continued development. We just built a terrace on the southwest side of the barn, bathroom facilities coming in a little bit later, and wayfinding and signage, all of which have been approved prior by all the other town boards. So we're really moving forward with this project. Not expected to have any budgetary impact. I'll be on your next agenda to bring you more information. I know that I can't ask you questions, but you can certainly ask me any question right now to help me prepare for that next meeting if you have any, or if anything comes to mind at this point.
Thank you.
And there are none?
No.
Okay, thank you so much.
Ms. Clark.
Hi there, Katie Clark, 5 Homans Lane. And I just had a nice conversation with Mr. Conley and Mr. McCord at your office hours last week. And one of the issues that we discussed was the fact that citizens who have been coming and speaking frequently at the select board meetings have received anonymous threatening letters with regard to their appearing here. And I was very disappointed and angry to hear about that. And we discussed this, and I had asked if at this select board meeting, I was hoping you would make a statement saying that you were not in favor of bullying of any kind, whether they're citizens attending these meetings or any other citizen activity in town. And I'm disappointed that there was not, excuse me, any mention of that this evening.
Mr. White.
James White, former resident, 47 Will Drive. So I'm going to read off of a letter that was sent by former resident Sean McDonough, retired DEA agent to Chief Rafferty several months ago. And these are questions regarding policies and procedures that he had to the chief for the John O'Keefe investigation. First was, what was the policy in effect when your officers were dispatched to the scene where John O'Keefe was found? Were they supposed to cease and desist their investigative actions when it was appeared John was dead? I imagine you have to pass something like this over the state police. Secondly, Are your officers trained in basic crime scene management? Do they recognize the significance of preserving a crime scene? 3, did any of your detectives respond? John was not immediately pronounced dead at the scene, and there was evidence of a brutal assault. Was the Canton Police Department ever going to investigate this incident had John lived? Or is it policy to hand all major crimes over to the state police? Why were there 3 civilian females found at the scene not brought to the station immediately for questioning, or at least held until the Mass State Police or your detectives could formally interview them? Who gave the order not to search primary residence of Brian Albert? The responding officers knew that 6 hours earlier, a party was held there and that John and Karen were both invited guests. Along with Jen McCabe, why didn't your officers explore this? And who directed the off-duty supervisor to be the only Canton Police Department official to talk with Albert that morning? What was discussed and what superior, a friend of the Albert's family? Was that superior a friend of the Albert's family? 6, your officers had found John with a lot of trauma, a huge gash on the back of his head. There had to be blood everywhere. One of your officers saw fit to collect blood samples. Was the scene completely photographed? And was the blood found at the scene commensurate with the injuries found on John? If not, why didn't your officers think to look for blood inside the residence where John had been invited? Also, your officers at the time did not know John had not worn a coat that evening. Didn't it seem strange to your officers that John had no coat on? Why didn't they think to look for his coat inside the residence? And it was bitter cold. Did McCabe tell your officers he wasn't inside the house? And if so, why was she given authority to leave the investigation?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. White. Ms. Howley. She was in line.
Yeah, that's fine.
I didn't see
That's
up
fine.
there.
I
You,
said the rest of Sean's.
Kathleen Howley, 43 Sherman Avenue. I timed it. It's less than 3 minutes, and I'm going to be talking faster now. I was going to talk about bond ratings. As I hope you know, they're the town's credit score. This past January, we got a AAA rating, the best possible score. I'm assuming we'll be seeking another bond issuance soon, which will involve a new rating, especially as we're planning to build a new middle school. Every parent in town is interested and excited about that project, and every homeowner is as well, because schools support all of our property values. A lot has happened in Canton since January. We now have a member of the select board who doesn't pay his taxes and has a 2-decade record of being sued for not paying his bills. He just got a brand new state tax lien slapped on him last month for more than $24,000, on top of the more than a dozen state and town tax liens that date back to 2003, and we just put him in charge of the master plan. We just put him on the master planning committee. But the bond raters will be far more concerned about you 4 guys, the guys who are too afraid to speak out, to uphold ethical standards, or even to say, yeah, I think you should pay your taxes. Everyone knows you can't force Mr. Albert to resign. Everyone also knows that you have voices that you could use to speak out if you wanted to. We didn't elect a lawyer who's telling you to remain silent. The taxpayers are paying him, but we didn't elect him. The bond guys are the smartest guys on Wall Street. If we can find through several easy online searches that Mr. Albert can't be trusted handling a $146 million budget funded with tax dollars, so can they. If we get a downgrade, it could impact those middle school plans. And yes, governance, and that means you guys, the CEOs of the town, is a key reason for downgrading bonds. I spent 15 years covering Wall Street as a journalist for Bloomberg News on the bond team. I mostly covered MBS, not munis, but the principles are the same. But something happened yesterday that's more important than bonds. I got a call from a police officer, and I spoke a little bit about this, and I'll cut this part short, who wanted to know the names of people in town who collected signatures for the special town meeting. We needed 200 signatures, and we got 334, I believe it was, to talk about critical issues facing our town that can't wait till next year. The police officer wanted names of the people who collected signatures so he could interrogate them. It was the most un-American question I have ever been asked, and no, I did not provide those names. By the way, most of the people collecting signatures have family members in law enforcement. And then the police officer went to homes of people who had signed the petition to ask him, who asked you to sign, et cetera, et cetera. Many of us who pay the bills for the police department believe that we need an independent audit of the Canton Police. And given the extreme conflicts of interest, which I'm happy to quantify for anybody who's interested, family and financial conflicts of interest on the board, if the board appoints it, it is not an independent audit of the Canton Police. People who are doing a good job would welcome that attention so we can all see how they shine. It's very clear that the Canton Police Department will do anything, including violating our civil rights, to avoid it and exposing the town to a civil rights lawsuit, which you guys just gave us further exposure by approving him, giving him a
Thank you.
promotion.
Thank you. Ms. Lombardi.
So I would just like to say, we've been appearing before you for months. We've been trying to work productively with the path forward. The tensions are high in this town. We all know it. And the fact that the board continues not to respond and answer questions is what is causing this to escalate. And it's not what we want. For months, we have been asking for you to bring in a crisis management team. Instead, you sat there in silence. We have asked you to coordinate a meeting with the chief of police. You sat there in silence. So we had to request a special town meeting to get that. When you guys got tired of listening to us, public comments were suspended. Even though several of us met with some of you individually and pleaded with you not to do it because it would escalate matters, you still put a pause on public comments. That wasn't when people showed up at the October 3rd meeting, they were showing up in support of free speech. We did not invite them. They came because they were supporting us in free speech. And I just want to say, I am one of the 4 people, as you know, because the letter was forwarded to you, that received the intimidating letter in the mail. And I'm not going to give that letter any credence. It was written by a few people, clearly, and it had lies in it. And some of the things that were in there, and I want you to know, is that they said to us, you have chosen to insert yourself into an unimaginable situation. Why would any of you want to do this is beyond us. There are just a few facts people eagerly shared, and these were the lies that they told about us and our family. There's a section, I'm not even going to give that any credence because it's made up. Imagine a deep dive. This is to quiet us. Imagine a deep dive of family, friends, extended families, neighbors, and coworkers. We will make sure they know this is curiosity of you. Fact or fiction, it sticks forever on the internet. If you would like a seat on the board, please run for it. Don't try to overthrow an elected official. Shame on you for not showing up after you invited your mob and crazy men. We did not invite anybody. They came on their own. The children and families involved get no break and no choice. You had made your choice to enjoy, you had your choice to enjoy your quiet lives. But Rita made it clear she declared war in your name. I never declared war. And then, if you think the people of Canton think you are heroes, think again. The majority is disgusted. People are reaching out to see what they can do to help. People are offering money, campaign help, legal assistance, and group meetings are underway. It's interesting that this author of this letter said the person is offering them campaign help. Can't imagine who would that be.
Ms. Lombardi, that's 3 minutes, miss.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Lombardi. Ms.
Finish the rest.
So,
Ms. Schuman.
Mr. Chair, we have time for one more.
Two more. Yeah, one more.
Is it 2 more?
I think so. Peter Henderson? No?
Okay.
Ms. Schuman.
Sorry.
My name is Tara Schuman and I live in Canton.
According to mine.
I signed the petition for the special town meeting. After I heard about it, I waited weeks, mostly because I was scared to put my name on that piece of paper. It was actually that fear that finally motivated me to do it. I shouldn't be afraid to participate in my local government. I've never done anything without my name attached, so I want to explain why I signed the petition. The amazing thing about democracy is that a balance of power allows for checks and balances. These checks and balances preserve our freedoms and our protection under the law. Our country was founded on the idea that an unchecked power leads to mismanagement, corruption, and oppression. So we hold each other accountable. With the petition for the special town meeting, over 300 voters, who I consider our legislative branch, decided to ask questions of the other two branches, namely the select board and our law enforcement. Taxpaying citizens followed procedures and requested to talk. I'm shocked and saddened to hear that peacefully and properly requesting this path in a local democracy has led to further intimidation. I wasn't going to come here tonight. 3 weeks ago, I received the same letter I didn't know was going to be mentioned by others, but I received that letter in the mail, and it accused me, among other painful and untrue things, of trying to overthrow an elected official and wage a, quote, war. Since I received that letter, the word war has taken on a whole new meaning. But please know that I love this country because we don't overthrow our leaders and we don't wage war on each other over town elections. Instead, we hold our elected leaders accountable by asking questions, and when we don't think those answers are enough, we do things like sign petitions for town meetings. But the accusations and threats by an anonymous sender that threatened to hurt me, my family, and people we know made me swear to people I love that I was going to step back from this microphone even when it opened up again. But I find myself here because I still believe in the democratic process and in talking through issues face to face, even when we're shaking and really, really scared, rather than threatening people behind closed doors. I've never done anything anonymously. Not a single post, not a single comment. I've come here and I've talked to you face to face, and I've asked you to talk to me, and I appreciate when you have. I signed that petition because I think that our town needs to come together and talk face to face. We need to ask questions and we need to listen to the answers, and we have to hold our leaders, ourselves, and each other accountable for our actions. I expect that the meeting will be extremely challenging, and that's why I came. I don't take democracy for granted. In fact, there's one thing that letter said to me that I have to state because I agreed with it. It ended with, "You have a decision to make. Can't wait to hear what would be more important than your own families." Peaceful living is a privilege.
Ms. Schuman, you have 3 minutes is up, miss.
And I completely agree with that.
Excuse me, excuse me. I run the meeting. I will control it. No, 3 minutes is 3 minutes. No. Let's finish it up.
I have one more sentence.
I said the ground rules, and then we're gonna have an orderly meeting here. So if anyone yells, I will ask you to leave. You understand?
Mr. Conley,
This is a crisis.
I actually need to say this to my own children who live in this town, because they're going to be horrified that I'm up here. And the last sentence, when it said, "Can't wait to hear what would be more important than your families," I want my family to know that I am here tonight because I want them to live in a place where they are
And make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion's been made and seconded. We adjourn the meeting at 8:43. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 4-0. Thank you and have a good evening.
of property by Bolivar Pond